Well, first off, well, people know about Tom Mulcair and the NDP, but tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
Yeah. So my name's Russ Christianson. I'm running for the 5th time for the NDP in Northumberland now. Peterborough South used to be Northumberland-Peterborough West. Do you want me to look at you with the camera? Look at you. Okay. And I live on a farm near Campbellford, and we've lived there for 18 years and raised my 2 children there, Dagmar and Soren. They're both at Queen's University now. And so I know something about the cost of post-secondary education and how high that is, and how hard it is for young people to find a job, because my kids are in that situation. So my background is, I went to Queen's University too, and my kids didn't choose to go there because I went there, but they liked the size of the university and the programs that are offered. But I did a Bachelor of Commerce at Queen's, and then I did a Master's of Industrial Relations at University of Toronto in majored in organizational theory. And for the last 30-odd years I've been working as a business consultant to help people start businesses. I'm really a startup specialist, and I help people do business plans and feasibility studies and market research, and help them do their legal organization and start up capital, and then consult with them to help them get the thing up and running and hopefully keep it running. So the success rate with the clients I've worked with is about 70%, which is great because the small business success rate in general is 20%. I'm not taking credit for the success rate, but the clients that I have are persistent and clever and hardworking, and they've also had some luck, so they've been successful in their businesses.
So the next question is, how is the campaign going, and what are some of the issues that you're hearing from people as you're out and about?
The campaign's going really well. This campaign is definitely different than previous campaigns. We've got longtime Liberals and Conservatives coming to us to give us support, donating, taking signs, volunteering. So there's a noticeable difference. A lot of people that I talk to at the door want change. They want to fire Mr. Harper on October 19th, and that's about 3/4 of the people I talk to. There's quite a bit of undecided voters. They want to fire Mr. Harper, but they haven't decided what's the best way to do that. So are we going to vote NDP? Are we going to vote Liberal? Are we going to vote Green? Are we going to stay home? What are they going to do? So people are in the process, in this very long campaign, of deciding the best approach from their point of view to fire Mr. Harper.
Okay. And so now, in previous campaigns, in previous elections, the area of Northumberland has had a tendency to go conservative.
That's a swing riding.
Yeah, and
conservative Liberal.
Yeah,
yeah.
And the previous riding, Northumberland-Peterborough West, had a larger urban component with Quinte West in it.
So and Trenton.
Yeah. And so, what do you think is going to be the effect on the campaign as far as the new riding of Northumberland-Peterborough South, which includes like Newcastle and up into like Keene and
Norwood? Yeah. Well, I mean, so far we've spent quite a bit of time in the new part of the riding because we need people to get to know me and what the NDP policies are, etc. So the response has been very positive. I mean, we're getting lots of signs, we're getting people who are interested in volunteering. I think that in this election, this time, people want change. And that's what they're saying right across the riding. Like, that's consistent. It doesn't matter whether it's Northumberland or Peterborough South, Norwood or Brighton or Campbellford or Newcastle. They're all saying the same thing. And I think that's what Canadians are saying across Canada, that they want change. They're fed up with Mr. Harper's undemocratic ways with omnibus bills and the Unfair Elections Act and, corrupt senators. I mean, they're just fed up with it and they want change. I mean, it's not uncommon for a government that's been in power for 9 or 10 years to defeat itself, and that's what's happening.
Okay. Now, so we've heard from Tom Mulcair and the party leaders about what they plan to do for Canada, but what would you as MP and the NDP do for Northumberland-Peterborough
Right.
South?
Right. So I think in Northumberland-Peterborough South, we have this mixture of small urban centers where there is some manufacturing and lots of small businesses, and then we have an agricultural economy as well. So we need to look at a mixture. Economic issues and job creation are obviously key points, and everybody's talking about that in Northumberland-Peterborough South. So in terms of job creation, small businesses create about 80% of the new jobs. So the NDP supports small businesses, and one of the things we'll do is cut the small business tax rate from 11% to 9% to encourage small businesses to create more employment. And we also have some incentives for small and medium-sized manufacturing and larger manufacturing companies in terms of a capital cost allowance, accelerated depreciation on research and development. And I think looking at some of the strategic areas in Northumberland, Peterborough South around business creation, because it is an agricultural economy, partly in the rural areas, and we want to maintain supply management so that the Trans-Pacific Partnership has got that on the chopping block. We don't support that. Obviously, we support trade because every Canadian understands that we're a trading nation, and the NDP supports trade fully. But what we don't support is investor protection agreements in these so-called free trade agreements that really put the balance in favor of transnational corporations and bypass democratically elected governments in terms of decision making and suing the governments if they've got a procurement policy that they think is somehow discriminatory or going to damage their future profits of a private corporation. There's an adjudication process that is basically not public. There's no transparency. It's done in private. We don't agree with that. That's not fair trade. And we want fair trade agreements. No one's seen that agreement and what's written in it, so we know that supply management's on the table and we want to protect that. And we're very clear about that. That'll help our rural economy. And one of the things we can do here in Northumberland is do some value-added processing for food products. So in Colburn, there's the Ontario Agri-Food Ventures Centre, and it's a fantastic facility. I've toured it a couple times. Northumberland County is the main instigator and champion of that project, and that'll allow local growers and farmers to do value-added food products, which will increase their revenue in their business side and hopefully increase their sustainability. So that's an example of some things that can be done.
Okay. Now, this is kind of a, I don't want to say unique situation, but the situation is that Rick Norlock, the incumbent MP, is not running this time.
Yes.
So,
well, there's 59 of them across
Yes.
Canada,
Yes.
so it's quite a few.
Yeah.
Rats have jumped the ship, really.
So, but what is your opinion of Rick and his tenure as MP for Northumberland West?
Well, I'm going to say two things. Number one, Rick's always been a gentleman with me, so he's always been courteous and polite for the most part. A couple all candidates meetings, not so much, but in general. I would say that overall, the experience that I've heard from people is that he or his office didn't always help as much as they felt they could have, right? And I think there's some things that Rick did with local constituents that were probably good things, and then there was people who didn't feel satisfied. So, I mean, I can't say, from my own experience, I haven't, had any significant disappointment with Rick myself personally, but I have heard some negative things from constituents who've not had a very good experience, but that's just hearsay. So, I mean, I think Rick represented the talking points of his party, and I know at all candidates meetings with Rick, he often read from the playbook, literally when he was answering questions, and didn't always answer the questions in a straightforward manner because of the conservative talking points. So one of the things that I try to do, and it is the 5th time I've run, At all candidates meetings, I try and answer people's questions as straightforward, as clearly, and as honestly as possible. And representing, of course, the NDP's platform and approach, because that's what people want to hear. And if it's something that's more personal, then I'll give them my own personal opinion.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Is that it?
That is it.
Where's the hard questions? Come on!